Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It is JD. It's always
Yep.
JD. It's
Yep.
always Michelle.
Yep.
Hello, everybody.
Yep.
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 We
Yep.
Watch Shudder. If you're
Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
now,
I
I'm gonna
promise
have
I'm
that stuck in
done.
my head.
You're
Well, if
welcome.
it's your first time tuning in, it's always like this. But we do not always watch Shudder. We did today. There was a new release. Hallelujah. Sometimes we delve outside of the Shudder realms. Very excited to be able to get back and watch something that was a Shudder original, exclusive, original.
I don't
Can't. I
recall.
don't.
Let me look real quick. Here's what I know.
Yeah.
We also sometimes watch Sesame Street.
We, did you watch Sesame Street today?
Yep. 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 Uh huh.
Oh, I see. You're doing
Yeah. You see.
the. Those are my favorite guys. I forgot what they're
Yeah.
called, but I like those guys.
Well, this movie is a
Yeah.
Shudder original, so
Oh, it is Shudder original.
yes.
Okay,
A
fascinating.
Shudder original des Teufelsbad.
Yes.
That's. I think that's how you say it in German. I mean, the
I
words are right in front of me, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I don't know. It means the truffles are bad. They Kufil's bad. The truffles are
No,
bad.
no,
Oh,
that's
it
not what
doesn't.
it means at all. No,
Oh,
Michelle. What
oh,
does
we
it
watched
mean?
different movies. Well, it means the devil's bath, but that's just an American translation. In Germany, it does mean the truffles are bad.
Okay.
So, Duolingo lesson for everybody. Should we just go ahead and jump into it, JD? I don't know why we're wasting so much time
Yeah,
when we could be
I
talking about
mean,
this
look, let's be
movie.
honest. The therapy portion's going to happen one way or the other, so we might as well just
Absolutely.
get rolling here. This movie, written and, well, directed by, I'm not sure if, yeah, written and directed by
Yep.
Veronica Franz and Severin Fiala, who also made a movie called Goodnight Mommy. Michelle, have you seen Goodnight Mommy?
I have. The original is very good. The remake, love Naomi Watts. Did not love the remake.
I didn't even know there was a remake. I haven't seen either one of them. So this was my first experience
Ooh,
with
have you
Veronica
seen
Franz.
The Lodge, which they also
I
wrote and
have
directed
not.
together?
I
Okay.
have not.
Okay. Good to
So,
know.
before we go any further, we will give you a quick summary of the film, removing a spoilery detail from the description on IMDb. We'll go with as close as we can get. This is the Devil's Bath, Austria in the 18th century. Forests surround villages. Agnes readies for married life with her beloved, but her mind and heart grow heavy. A gloomy path alone. Evil thoughts arising. Who wrote this? Do they not know complete sentences? Anyway, that's Des Teufelsbad, the Devil's
Truffles are bad.
Bath,
Yep, bad truffles.
2024, Shudder original.
Well, would you like to hear my spoiler-free thoughts, JD?
I mean, you didn't even give me a chance to ask this time, Michelle.
I
But yeah,
know.
go ahead.
I
I
want to
mean,
talk
if it's
about this
that
one.
if
Uh,
it's that important to you, just get on with it.
I actually have a question before I give my spoiler-free thoughts.
Was the stream that I watched also complete garbage? Come on, Shudder. I'm watching
Well,
clips of the film right now on IMDb right in front of me, and they're much higher quality than what we just saw on Shudder. I don't know if they just uploaded a standard definition version or if there's something going on, but man, I was real upset about that. Sorry, I had to get it out before we went any further. Go
no,
ahead with
that's
your
fair.
question.
The quality suddenly changed halfway through when I was watching the movie and was in high quality after that.
Oh,
So I
that must be
think,
nice.
yeah, I think they somebody fucked up. It wasn't the film's fault, but somebody at Shudder fucked
Right,
up pretty
right.
royally.
And I
The
can say for
comments are
sure
full of
it's.
that.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I'm looking right at IMDb right now, and it's
Yeah,
playing footage from the film, and it does not look like that.
no.
It
So
looks
Shudder,
like an actual movie.
get your shit together.
Somebody
Um,
blew it.
so my question, JD,
Yes.
I have a very good feeling about how you feel about this movie.
Okay.
We never talk about it beforehand, but I think I have an estimate. How do you think I felt about this movie?
I honestly have no idea. This is one that I was like, man, I mean, there are things about it that I think Michelle could potentially find really enjoyable, things that might really be, frankly, kind of boring to her just based on her tastes. But honestly, I don't. I couldn't think of I have no idea where you're going. I'm mystified. How are you coming
Okay.
down on this one, Michelle? Tell me.
I am so surprised by how much I liked it. This
Okay.
is so far beyond things that I usually enjoy. I like a lot of gore. I like your in your face horror stuff. I'm not much of a drama horror fan, and that's what this is. I don't like anything that happened before the 1900s. Don't give a fuck. It's in the past. Why are we dwelling on it? I only like horror movies with cell phones and the other modern contraptions. I'm just not big on this kind of thing. And yet really, really liked it. I am finding that I just really like the writer and director pair of Veronica France and Severin Fiala. I did not know that they also did The Lodge. I didn't know going into this that they were the people who had done Goodnight Mommy until I saw that on Shudder. And apparently, those two movies also fit into a realm of things that surprisingly I like. I like the good imagery that they do. I don't mind the slow burn. I know one of your complaints is going to be very valid in that this is too long. I don't think that they effectively used 2 hours and could not justify it. But if they had cut out a half hour from the first half of this movie and condensed it down to an hour and a half, when shit gets real about halfway through, this would have been a very, very solid film. I do think that there was an extra half hour that I did not need. It took me a while, but yeah, I got there. I will go with a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 for Michelle on The
Hmm.
Devil's Bath. Now, Michelle, before I go into my spoiler free thoughts, you said that you were pretty confident that you had a strong idea of how I would feel about this film. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I know that you love The Witch. And this is also an older folk horror kind of tale. However, it is a folk horror tale that I like, and therefore, just because of who we are as people, I have a feeling that you didn't like it. That's how this kind of genre falls. One of us will like it. It will never be both of us liking it. It might be both of us disliking it, but it's never going to be both of us giving it a 4. So I think you're around a 2.5 maybe.
Well, you're right about one thing, which is this. I did not enjoy this.
Yep,
First of all, it is way too goddamn long. Way
absolutely.
too long for me. Again, I understand there are people who can handle this kind of this pace, and I'm not even saying that I can't handle a very slow pace, but there's got to be a reason for it, and this was just so slow and deliberate that eventually I was like, I'm second screening, pausing the movie to go get a snack. I'm not focused at all.
Hmm.
I'm not submerged in it. And I was watching the whole thing kind of trying to understand what was being said, what the story really was about, because it is very folk horror-y. I got more out of the text panels at the end of the film before the credits, so far as understanding what this was about, than I got from the film. Like, I followed the events, I knew what was going on, but I didn't understand what they were trying to say until they just flat out spelled it out to me. Now, maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. This just didn't work for me on any level at all. There are a couple of moments in it that I thought were really solid and interesting, but ultimately it felt like the whole reason this movie got made was really they just wanted to show these like weird traditions from this old sort of part of the world and these interesting folk traditions without a whole lot of structure underneath it. And yeah, this is honestly it's lower than you thought. It's a 1.5.
Ooh. 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay. 1.5 from JD, 4 from me. I knew that's how it was going to pan out because if I like this type of movie, you can't. We have such different tastes.
It's not
And there was
allowed.
no way. No, there was absolutely no way. Oh man, I have so much to respond to you about when we get into the spoiler section. Should we go ahead
We
and
should do that.
make
Yeah,
our way there?
if you don't want the movie spoiled for you, this is where you're going to want to pause and then come back after you've seen it. From here on out, it's spoiler territory. Anything that happens from here on out is your fault and not ours. A vague
Well, there's a
disclaimer
lot of
is
things that are
nobody's
my
friend.
fault. Uh okay, I have a question to start us off.
Okay, have at
Um
it.
you said that there were things you understood what was going on, but you needed things spelled out to you, and then eventually they did spell it out. What were you referring to?
Well, I mean, you saw the titles at the end of the film, right? About how, like, this was, like, I understood the events. I knew there was, can I just do the plot summary here?
Oh fuck, I forgot
Because,
we were doing that. Yeah,
no,
you go for
well,
it.
yeah, I'll do it here because I think it will show that, like, so understand what happens. So the movie starts, and there's this baby in a field. And somebody goes to look at this little boy who goes look at the baby, and then he goes away. And when he goes away, then there's this other lady who comes over and just picks up the baby and walks off with the baby into the woods. And then eventually she gets to the top of a waterfall, and then she just hucks that baby off the waterfall, walks to the cop shop and says, "I've committed a crime," and they chop her head off and put her on display for the whole world to see. And then we change to a different time, and there's Agnes and Hawk, and they're from neighboring villages, and apparently they love each other. I don't know. It seems like more of a marriage of convenience situation, but anyway, they're getting married. Hawk used all of their money, including her dowry and his money, and a bunch that he had to borrow to buy them a house without talking to her, and she thought that was weird. And it's super close to her mother-in-law, and so her mother-in-law is just a hag nag and is there all the time. And then she sees the chopped off lady's head, and then she kind of wants to be a mom, but her husband is probably gay for this fella Lenz, and won't have sex with her, and that's weird. And then some kids deliberately get her lost in the woods, and she just keeps getting lost in the woods all the time and seeing crazy shit. And then eventually she just stops working, stops doing chores, and then she starts taking rat poison for some reason. I think just to get sick and get them to get her the heck out of there before she kills herself so they don't have to go through that shame. Oh, yeah, Lenz, the gay fella, he killed himself, so he can't go to heaven. They can't even bury him in the ground. They just drag him out into a field and let the birds peck at him where anybody can see it. So she's sad and she wants to die, but she knows if she kills herself, that's the way her whole fate is gonna go. So instead of killing herself, she also finds a child, and she stabs that kid in the neck a bunch of times, and he dies, and she immediately walks to the cop shop and said, "Hey, I committed a crime." And then she still gets to go to confession and have her sins absolved, and now she gets to go to heaven. Basically, it's like the whatever period of time this was suicide by cop situation, right? You commit a crime, then they kill you, and you don't have to kill yourself. And then there's titles that are like, this used to happen all the time, and it was mostly women, and it was mostly children. And then there's credits.
That's yep, that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So I understand what happens. What I didn't pick up on was any intimation at all that I the whole time I was like, is this supposed to be some kind of witchcraft thing? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is this leading to? And like, is there some kind of connection between the woman who killed the first child and the woman who killed the second child? And no, as it turns out, it's just a story about this woman. And she had a real rough time of it, and she went crazy, and she killed a kid. And then there's these, like I said, I I found more interesting information in those titles at the end where they then tell you, oh no, this is a thing that used to go on all the time. There was nothing in the movie itself that made me feel like it was anything other than just, oh, this is just another movie about a woman going crazy. I didn't understand or have any awareness of the historical connection. Maybe if they, and it's troubling because it's kind of spoilery, but in a way not. I think if they had just taken those titles, those informational titles that talk about this, because the movie opens with a woman killing a baby, right? Like, that's the opening scene of the movie. So I think if you put those titles at the beginning to establish the historical context, and then we see that opening scene, I think a change that simple would have made this more effective for me. I think I still would have been bored by the 2 hours and incredibly slow methodical pace of it, but that was the big thing to me, is there was just nothing that hooked me, and I was not interested in what was going on here at all until it was already over and they told me where the inspiration came from.
Okay. Uh,
Your turn.
so I'm realizing I have a really bad habit because of this show. It's opening my eyes to something I do, and that is when the end credits start rolling, I immediately turn the movie off. I sometimes go to the end if it's like Marvel and I know that there's going to be something at the end. But we've had so many episodes where you've told me there was something at the end and I just immediately turned it off. I turned this off before I got to the titles.
It's at the very beginning. It's right before the credits,
No,
Michelle.
there is a dedication. And I went, the
Oh, for
dedication,
God's
we're
sake.
at the end. So I turned it off. So while you were talking, I went back and I read that. And yeah, I do like the idea of those titles being at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I did know that information anyway, though, because I had watched some interviews with the creators
Okay.
after finishing the movie and learned that this is actually pretty much like as close to a retelling of a real lady named Agnes as
Right.
they could. Yeah. So I knew that information but did not watch it in the end credits. And I do like that idea of it being spelled out, but also as somebody who enjoyed it before having any of that information, I didn't mind. This was kind of the story of not just like specifically this phenomenon of people killing themselves like suicide by proxy. It's not so much even that, it's just holy shit, people could not handle mental issues at all. And I know that's something that we've seen a lot in horror, but I think every time it's spelled out in kind of a new and interesting way, I'm totally on board with hearing that story. The when they introduce the guy known as the barber, but is not a barber or a doctor, he's just kind of like a guy who's like, oh, you're a woman and you're sad? Impossible. Have you
Well,
tried putting hair in your neck? Like
have you
seeing
tried
his
sewing hair into your neck? I mean, that's what he does.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen this method. That's upsetting. And just I don't mind that story being told. Plus trying to figure out like is she possessed? There's a moth crawling out of her mouth and now she's putting a moth back into her mouth. Is this actually happening? She's taking rat poison. Is she gonna die? Is this the method of like a person who's got a devil in them? Is she gonna become a witch? I really like trying to figure out what exactly is going on and then learning like, oh, this was based on an actual thing. That tied it in a little bit more, but I didn't mind not having that info ahead
I,
of
I,
time.
I think why it made it problematic for me is because you put that on top of the slow pace and the very long kind of drawn out thing. Not having that context to connect to is just another layer of I am personally getting nothing from this. I do also have to certainly accept that probably another factor on top of that was the terrible streaming quality, which is not the movie's fault at all. But yeah, like I felt like there was the way they were playing this movie, it almost felt to me like there was going to be a lot more going on. And no, it's just a woman who is suffering from mental issues, who's also henpecked by her mother-in-law, who's dealing with a husband who is a closet homosexual for very obvious reasons, and it's there's the religious oppression element. It also, like, what I find interesting here is it's one of these hybrid pagan Christian religions that sort of came up all over the place over the years, and so you see some very very clearly Christian sort of ceremonial things, but then also very they I don't I have to believe they didn't actually kill that goat or
Oh,
that
I think they might have.
I know. I
I
looked
think,
like, and
yeah.
like if it was done in a way, I guess, consistent with traditional practices or that sort of thing. Okay, whatever. I didn't need to see it. That then though makes me wonder: did they really brain that chicken like a pinata? Did they really kill that chicken?
That one, I don't know because I was watching the chicken during those wide shots and it's
Mm,
moving. It's not like a stuffed animal.
yeah,
So
that.
even if like they were very close to like hitting a real
Well, and
chicken slash rooster. So
here's where it also gets weird for me is not only was I really like, and I'm like, have you done any looking into it? Do you know for sure? Did they kill that goat?
oh, I haven't, but I feel
Oh,
pretty
okay.
confident they absolutely
Yeah,
did.
and
I'll go look.
what also pushes me more towards that is like when Agnes tells Hawk that she's taken rat poison, he tries to induce vomiting, and he is very clearly, very
Yep.
obviously shoving his fingers down this woman's throat and making her vomit on camera. Like,
Yep.
it's like, I mean, kudos to you guys for being willing to do that, but it's intense. Like, it's fucking like, wow. A level that you wouldn't necessarily expect things to go. The violence, like, I knew immediately when they have that scene where she walks up to the river and the kid goes away with her. I'm like, oh, this kid's gonna fucking die. And like I said, I thought there was gonna be some sort of connection, and it just never fully registered. I did appreciate the way the violence and the real severe moments are punctuated by the very uh normal mundane tone of the rest of the movie. Like, those things definitely are played effectively. But one thing I did want to ask you, Michelle, is what was your reaction to not Agnes's head being cut off, but then all of a sudden they start collecting the blood and selling cups of it to people to drink? What the fuck was that all about?
First off, goat cannot find if the goat was real, but I'm pretty sure by watching that scene that goat was real.
It looked like, yeah, it really looked
And
like
I'm
that.
just hoping like they ate it and it was there was a reason.
Right,
Like they didn't just let it fester under
right,
movie lights. That would be upsetting. But I'm
yeah.
like, I'm not a vegetarian. I would be a hypocrite if I said like this goat getting drained of
Right,
blood
and
in the
that's
way
why
that
I
they
say,
do.
yeah, that's why I say,
Yeah.
as long as it was done in a way consistent with,
Yep.
ethical slaughter practices, traditional things, obviously
Exactly.
I would rather not see it, but ugh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a real goat. I don't know about the chicken, and this movie is not on doesthedogdie.com yet, so they're gonna have some things to say about it. I know that they will. Okay, so goat definitely real. My thoughts on the ending. I actually really Oh, I want to say that I liked it. It did make me think though that this had more of a supernatural element than it actually
Yes.
did, where well they've all been just they selected this girl from a different village And they brought her here and they've deliberately tormented her and made her go crazy so that they could then essentially sacrifice her and then all celebrate because now the crops are going to be fucking great, everybody. Yay. Like I absolutely thought that's what that ending meant. Until it was explained like no, that's just how people would celebrate back then. That's when they did a public execution because this was one of the interviews I was watching. When they did a public execution, that's what they would do. They would just have celebrations. So I had no idea, and it did make me think that there was a supernatural thing. But even before I learned the truth, I didn't mind that. It was like, oh, well, at least there was a reason for her suffering. But then, of course, no, there's not. People were just really sad in the 1700s when the internet didn't exist yet, and they were bored, and you had to like go catch fish every day, all day. Sounds terrible. They
Yeah,
didn't have
and
DoorDash. Oh, sad.
like there's some very clear folklore stuff going on here, right? Like there's the severed finger that she puts under the mattress that's apparently supposed to help her have a child, all these other things. And I very much like you got the impression from that, like, so this is a story of this woman experiencing these things that a lot of us are very familiar with, but we're telling that story within the framework of this historical context, and this society and these cultural traditions, but then you never explain the cultural traditions, which I think is sort of in a way crucial to understanding why, like, that's what makes this story unique, right? But all I know is what it looks like. I don't understand the significance of any of it. I know you're saying that it was just a celebration, but there had to be a reason that the celebration became, oh, let's collect the decapitated person's blood and drink it. That's not something random. That came from somewhere, I'm sure of it, and probably just eventually became what they did. But I want to know the background of all this stuff now.
Well, guess you're gonna have to go watch a documentary about the making of the Devil's Bath. I don't know, some sort of documentary out there about like how crazy people were in the 1700s. It was wild, y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
I am trying to
All
think
right,
if
I'm
I
going to
really
bed.
have you're you're saying you're going to bed.
Yep.
Well, I was gonna say I don't know if I have much more to add because this is one of those that there's not a great explanation for it's gonna work or it's not going to work for people, and I
Yep.
don't think either way people are wrong for that opinion. I
Correct.
think that you had to watch a crappy streaming service version of this, but outside of that, I was gonna say that the images in here are very nice to look at. It's very pretty. You did not get to experience that, but that's something that I've noticed consistently with these two is that they do a really good job of framing shots. And this thing is so bleak and gloomy and gray, and I love the way that the images look and they're consistent. When the moth came out of her mouth, that was so fucking cool, and when it went back in, that was really cool. There's when the kid dies, that's pretty cool. Yeeting a baby off a waterfall was hilarious, and I was already intrigued by that.
Wait a
um
minute.
but it was very funny
Okay.
because
Fair
I
enough.
I was watching it because I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I would do too. Of like, I have no idea how to make this thing stop. Okay, bye. I'm not good with babies either, so I related to that character. And then it's like, oh, she was just trying to murder it. No, in my case, it would just be like, please go away. Please stop crying. I'm very bad with babies. I have 3 friends who are giving birth within the next month, and I realize they might listen to this and not let me hold their newborns. So I love babies. I will not eat your baby off a waterfall, I promise, because there's no waterfalls where I live.
She'll wait till
Okay.
it's about 9 years old and then stab it in the neck.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll go to the cops and be like, I messed up. But yeah, so images, great. One really cool thing I learned, the main lady who played Agnes, Anya Plosh, Plosh, she was initially hired to do the sound design for this movie, which I really like when things start getting crazy and you don't know if she's possessed or like mentally unwell. There's some really like intense sounds that happen, and I love that. That's what she was hired to do. And then their lead actress fell through, and she had told them that she related to the character so much that she was interested in playing her. So they're like, this lady has never acted in a full length film before, but she really gets the character. We like her sound design. She's got an interest in musicality, so that will she'll understand some of the rhythm of how movies work. And so they hired her. And I think for this being her first film, she did a great job.
I agree. I did not know any of that, and yeah, that's especially considering some of the things that were required of her for this role. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we're gonna ask you to let this other human being shove his fingers down your throat and make you vomit.
Yep.
Okay.
I think the
Uh,
whole priest confession scene, first off, also hilarious in a way it's not meant to be, where she's like, I murdered a kid, and the priest's like, it's okay, I talked to God, he's fine. Like that's so funny to me that that's how religion works for people, that they're like, this guy said it's cool that I killed a kid. I feel great. But aside from that, her reaction and her straight up like screaming relief, I was like, this lady, I need to see her in more stuff. And then learning that this is her first film, God, that scene is really good. I can't believe she was not already like a, I can't say like trained actor, but like already a professional, because that scene alone is fantastic. And if she wants more sound design work, great. But I hope I see her acting and other things, because goddamn, that was really, really well done,
yeah,
despite the absurdity of religion.
she was fantastic, and you bring up an excellent point actually that maybe we can explore. Like one of the other things about this movie is, again, I get that their intent was to talk about this phenomenon that was very well documented, and what it really. But I feel like, again, like they played those themes of like Hawk's repressed homosexuality and the implication that Lenz killed himself because he couldn't deal perhaps with his repressed homosexuality, and the that whole religious idea of like, maybe if we were able to come to terms with the idea that somebody is taking their own life, we could prevent some of these people from killing children so that they, because like the whole, like, she tells you flat out, the only reason I killed that kid is so you would kill me because
Hmm.
I was too afraid to kill myself because I'll go to hell. And so, like, and I get that, like, it's not necessary that they explore that further. That wasn't the story they were trying to tell. But I feel like, especially at a 2 hour running time, if they had explored some more of that side of things as well, I would, and or again, some of the a little bit more detail on the folkloric traditions, I think I personally would have been more into it.
That's fair.
How
I have
did
no response to it, because it's
oh,
just one where like you feel it or you don't.
yeah, you're right. It's but I will say this: even with the low quality stream that I had, I can tell that this is a beautiful film. Like, it's really well made. They have some incredible locations that they found. A very skillful piece of work. And again, that this is that lady's first performance ever. I never would have guessed that in a million years. So
I know you don't have time to consume media to the extent that I do, but I definitely would recommend watching the original Goodnight Mommy that these two made. Because if you like the creepy atmosphere but needed a shorter runtime, that is only it's an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes, something like that. So reasonable, and definitely creepiness on the level that's in this one. I'm also realizing, of the three movies I've seen that they've created, between this one, Goodnight Mommy, and The Lodge, they just like to have creepy kids, or not like a creepy atmosphere with children as well, say, because I don't think the kids in here were necessarily creepy, but they like to use kids in their dark storytelling. And that's pretty neat. I think I really like their work, and I'm so surprised by that, because if I had to explain, like, Goodnight Mommy is my vibe, that one's not surprising. But between this and The Lodge, like, I am not a slow burn person. I like Hostel. Like, I just like throw it in my face, have no coded. anything. Don't use a metaphor. Just like murder people and make the effects really good. Like when she gets her head chopped off and blood sprays everywhere. Like that's fucking great.
It
But
was.
like
It was a
surprising.
very
Yeah.
very obvious practical effects, right? Like
It's so funny.
nobody's nobody was fooled in any way. But it was good enough, and I will still take that any day over a CG effect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be realistic and passing this off as like, did they really kill that girl? Like, did they kill a goat and a human woman? They weren't trying to pass out for anything other than what it was. And yeah, totally. I will take that over somebody trying to make something look so realistic that you can't tell with CGI. Like it's fine. I know I'm watching a movie. I know that this is not a
Exactly.
documentary. I'm
Exactly.
totally fine with suspended disbelief. And I think that little girl's reaction to the head flying off is she's just openly shocked. And then we get into like the celebration. Like, did they do this to this lady? Yeah. Also,
The
where did you get the name Hawk from? Because you kept calling him Hawk. His name's Wolf. Wolf.
That's where I got it from. It's because I knew it was an animal name, and I just immediately,
Okay.
for some reason, I
I
thought it
thought
was hawk
maybe
this whole time. No, it's wolf. You're absolutely right.
okay,
Oh
I
my
totally thought his
god!
last name was like Hawk,
No,
so maybe he was
no,
like
you're
Wolf
right.
Hawk. Okay, sounds
No,
good.
that's just a perfect example of how disconnected from this I became. Is I knew it was an animal name, and I have a friend whose name is Hawk, and I just went with Hawk, and
Okay.
it sounded right. And
No,
you're right.
that's totally fine.
Yeah, his name is
I thought
Wolf.
maybe his name was Wolf Hawk or something, and if that was the case, I needed to know. Okay, sounds good. Just different type of animals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's what was the name of this movie? Oh, that's the other thing. They
bad truffles.
never they never ever tell us what the significance of bad truffles is.
Yes, I know.
Never. They
Yeah,
never
they
tell us the
say
significance of bad truffles.
that
They say it a
they
couple of
think
times.
they think she's in the devil's bath.
She's in
What
the
does
devil's
that
bath.
mean?
Right.
Can I also say out of context, the devil's bath sounds very relaxing. I bet it's very warm and like you can really like it sounds like a sauna and not like a bad thing. Like she's in the devil's bath sounds like she is in the hottest, like sultriest bath of her life. That sounds so appealing. I want to be in the devil's bath. I think that sounds so relaxing. I
It
could go take a devil's bath right now.
I'm actually curious enough that I'm trying to find out what a devil's bath is. The Wikipedia entry doesn't tell me anything.
Well,
So I'm gonna
we
have to
got
do a
time to
little bit of
research
digging.
after this
Michelle's
episode.
gonna Michelle's gonna look it up and tell me one of these days. Look, I can't
Yeah,
even remember
I
wolf,
absolutely
so what do I know?
will.
So yeah, if you do like beautifully photographed films that have a nice slow burn and some weird elements, I mean, there are gonna be plenty of people who enjoy the hell out of this movie. I'm just some schmuck who, I'm a guy, but
He hates movies. This entire
uh,
show has been a ruse. He hates
it's,
them. Every time he says he likes a movie, he's lying. It's
I
just to
mean,
not have it be so predictable, where it's like, oh, JD gave yet another one skull.
yeah,
Hates
that's
them.
all my fives lies. My fives are
Yep.
lies,
It's actually the
guys.
opposite, and we laugh at you for thinking that he likes things.
Yeah, that's the
I
whole
also
reason
hate
this
movies.
podcast exists. Hey guys, I want to take a moment to say on the podcast, because I've been talking about it on my own social media a lot because I don't want to do it openly because it feels a little self-indulgent. But we very recently almost we came in at 103, but we almost broke into the top 100 film review podcasts in the United States on Apple Podcasts. And that feels awesome. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who helped us get there.
I am so worried about you watching those ratings so closely, or those metrics,
Why?
because one day they're gonna tank and your depression is
Oh,
going to come
they've
out.
already tanked, Michelle. They've tanked
Okay,
multiple times. They seesaw. It's a
okay,
live chart. They go up and down and up and down and
yeah,
up and down. We weren't
but
even
but
on it for
someday,
several days, and I'm
but
fine.
someday we're gonna disappear forever, and I'm just very worried.
What's gonna happen is we're gonna peak up into like the top 20 one time for a day, and then we're never going to crack the top 50 again, and it's going to
And you're
destroy my
gonna
life.
obsess. Yep, that's why I don't comment. JD loves metrics. I love squelches. We each have our own thing. Also, I love telling people out of context I love squelches because the friend who lent me all the comic books, I did finish Preacher. I will be talking about it on the review that we've got coming up.
Preacher! Good old
Preacher.
ass
I've got so many
face.
things to say. Uh our space. I love him. Okay, so friend Mike said that he was going to start listening to the show, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something about squelches, and he went, "What now?" And then I had to explain that I collect squelches. And out of context it sounds fucking batshit. But yeah, we each have our things. You like Data, I like
I
squelches.
collect squelches. Hey, I also enjoy
Yeah.
squelches. Oh, one thing I almost forgot to mention, Michelle. I just reminded me of it because I saw the
Oh.
picture of the lady with the hair sewn through the back of her neck. Were
Ugh.
you not aware that in historical context, barbers were like surgeons and dentists and like they did this kind of stuff. They did a lot of bloodletting, and that's why the barber pole is like a red and white spinny thing. It's reference to like blood related stuff that barbers used to do and other processes. Did you not know that?
I feel like that's knowledge I had locked way down deep inside of me, but
Sure.
that I did not remember it and don't even like fully think I remember. I have like an inkling of like, yeah, you know that because you like fucked up historical, like medical things. I love ancient medical
Oh yeah.
textbooks and I read
Just
that
all
stuff for fun. So I know I've got it down in my brain, but no, I completely didn't. I don't recall that, but I completely believe I've heard it before and forgot.
I am endlessly fascinated by the kind of things people did a long time ago to try and cure their
Agreed.
maladies. It's
Yeah.
sometimes well, and here's the thing is if you're able to detach from it enough and if you're really able to take it in its context, when you really look at what they had to work with, some of these ideas weren't as batshit as they seem from a modern standpoint. You can at least understand how they might come to that conclusion. But there's here, we're gonna take this stretch of hair and sew it through the back of your neck, and you got to keep seesawing it through so the wound festers and gets infected. What the?
Yeah. Also, your wife seems kind of unhappy. We're gonna vibrate her once a week, and then she'll be way happier. Love that the invention of the vibrator was for mental health
for
purposes.
for
Um,
hysteria, Michelle.
yeah, for hysteria, exactly, and it
Yeah.
worked. And they're like, I can't wait to go to the doctor.
that's that's the fucking most perfectly efficient joke I may have ever heard in my life. That's all you had
What?
to say was worked.
Oh,
They made it for
yeah.
hysteria. Worked.
You know, Victorian gentlemen could not find the clit. I'm not surprised that that's what they resorted to.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
I'm not
Um,
wrong. Modern men sometimes struggle with it. So,
oh yeah, that was.
well,
I did find it
um,
kind of interesting that this guy was willing to put his fingers down her throat, but he wasn't willing to put his in her. Yeah, that was probably not. That was one of those things that I would take to an open mic and then be like, "Where did you ever get the idea that that was something people would laugh at?"
my brain started going 100 miles a minute trying to top it, and I'm so glad I didn't say anything that came to mind because it was all so much worse, and not in the good way, not like a worse, like in a oh that's dirty, like in a why the fuck would you say that kind of way. Like this is not funny. It does not benefit anyone. Kind of like our podcast.
Hey, I don't know about that.
Uh, I
Sorry,
don't
guys.
know
I
if I'd
just
say we benefit anybody. But I
my
enjoy doing
medicine
it.
got away from me. Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I'll be fine. Some of this is a little exaggerated.
Yeah. JD's definitely dying. He is in the devil's bath right now. I think I need to go take a devil's bath. I have nothing left to say. Do you, JD?
No, just oh God.
Jesus Christ.
I should have
You
waited
guys,
until
we
we
do
were
these
done. I
via
didn't.
Yeah, we do these via video call, and anytime there's a huge delay in JD responding, just know that he is getting high throughout the
I
entire episode.
there is, first of all, there is rarely a delay in me responding, and second of all, they've all
That's
heard
why
me
I'm saying.
cough before.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, if there's a delay when it happens, you guys know. He's got like a 10-foot
Hey,
bong
I
and he's got all of the gummies. He's cooking
I
gummies as we talk.
I have a Lucas Snail 2.0 vaporizer battery that I put a vaporizer cartridge on. Michelle, don't lie to these people.
They would think it was so
I
cool if you had a
thought I
10-foot
was
bong.
close
I was
enough
trying
to
to
the
make it
end.
cool.
Because, look, I do understand it's a ridiculous thing to let happen on your supposedly professional podcast. So I've been trying my best. I thought I had waited close enough to the end of the podcast that I could manage to get one in before the end and not lose my shit, but I was wrong. I
That's fair.
apologize. Also, I do want to add, as soon as you people start paying for this fucking thing, I'll stop smoking during the show.
What? No, I hope that if they start paying, you start smoking more. I feel like we
Frankly,
both
they
get
might.
better the higher you are.
Wow, that's almost. Well, for that matter, we also get better the drunker you are. So
I know.
maybe that'll be.
This is not
That's the
an
future.
insult.
This is the future of the show. Is Michelle comes in drunk, and I
Oh my
come
God.
in just toasted to the hills, and
Yeah,
we'll see. That's not even a phrase that anybody's ever used before. I just made it up.
because you're
Toasted
toasted to
to
the
the
hills.
hills. That's a new thing I'm gonna say for the rest of my life.
Oh. Yeah, no,
At
I
least
truthfully think that we get better as one of us gets higher or drunker.
when one of us gets more
It's
ridiculous.
exactly because then we have no inhibitions and we're both very, very anxious people.
Right, and we're not afraid to be like, look, frankly, I don't care if you're laughing with me or at me as long as you're laughing.
Truth. Hey, it just started raining. They might go run around in there. That's the
Oh yeah,
devil's bath
can
outside
I
calling.
tell a story about my shithead dog before we go?
What if I said no?
Well then say goodnight, Michelle.
Oh, no, no, no. You can you can
I
tell a
mean,
story about your shithead dog.
no, we went outside, and guys, I don't know if you knew this or not, but it's very difficult to explain to a dog the logistics of if we walk towards the rain, we're actually going to get home faster and be overall less exposed to the rain. All they're like is, no, fuck that, I'm turning around. Then the little shit makes me pick him up and carry him for several blocks because he refuses to walk in the rain. And then the rain finally lets up, and I set him down, and we're finally close to home, which has taken twice as long as it needed to because he wouldn't just go the fucking way it needed to. And then this little son of a bitch wouldn't even go home. Why do I even keep this fucker? I should just, like, he runs out into traffic, and I have to keep him on a leash so he doesn't get hit by a car. One of these days, I'm just going to let the little fucker go. I'm
Hope
really
not.
not. I'm really not. It's this
I,
goddamn
I,
dog. Guys, this is our new podcast. Our new podcast is Dog Life. Michelle has a tiny little pocket
oh,
dog, and I have a tiny little
I
pocket dog.
do.
And oh my god, if you
I don't even like little dogs. She's such a shithead, and
oh
I love her.
she's just loud and obnoxious, and she makes you
Yeah.
carry her in the rain, just like Riley
Oh,
makes me.
absolutely. Oh, I've sometimes gone with my dog outside. We have a backyard. I have a house. It's not that far of a walk. I have taken an umbrella out during a thunderstorm to make sure that my dog doesn't get too wet.
There's a
I
pretty
these
I don't know
fucking
if
they
have
are
we ever
evolved
shared it.
from wolves. How? How?
Have we ever shared it with the listeners, Michelle? That very uh uh well known amongst your friends video of you having to run outside and carry the dog in from the rain because the dog was stuck outside.
No, I should
We don't
probably put
have
that on
to.
the
We don't
page.
have to share it with
Uh,
them. They're all gonna want to
It's
see it
pretty
now that I
great though.
brought it up. But
Yeah. I'm making a note. We've got a ring camera. I
this
will go
is
find the footage of
And
me
you know what?
carrying my
You know what
dog
this
in.
is, Michelle? This is exactly what I said, which is we'll get to the therapy portion one way or the other eventually, and here we
Yeah,
are.
it just takes us a bit sometimes.
Did I just hear a dog bark?
Not on my end.
Oh, I swear to God, I thought I heard a dog bark in my headphones.
Nope.
Wow,
You
Oh,
got
maybe
ghosts.
I got a dog ghost. Is it a
You got
dog
a dog
ghost
ghost.
or a ghost dog, do you think?
I don't know, but you're gonna have a barking good time.
All right, say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
You're going to have a barking good time. For more horror content, visit WeWatchShudder.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShudder.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.